in the annals of Warriors history, and there it shall remain. Here's an internet tip for you. Sometimes people start drama on purpose. Yep, that's right, some people's hot takes are actually ice cold attempts at starting drama and causing rifts between communities, and this very scenario happened just this year in 2021. Back in 2020, a Tumblr user by the name Mad Mozartian Feline Fantasy made a satirical and joking post predicting what dramas would occur within the fandom in 2021. The first entry on this list reads, "Someone claims that making the clan populations each look different from each other is eugenics. Mass discourse ensues on whether you're allowed to draw Wind Clan cats as thin and long versus Thunder Clan cats being big and muscly." Little did this Tumblr user know their joke post would become a reality just a few months later when this exact scenario became a real topic of debate in the community. Fans were genuinely arguing over whether it was quote eugenics to draw River Clan cats skinny or Thunder Clan cats buff, and the drama spread through the community like wildfire. It seemed like a miracle, perhaps sent from StarClan. This Tumblr user's sarcastic post had actually come true just as they predicted that it would. Had they just predicted the future? Well, not quite. Shortly after the discourse started, a Tumblr user called Vogels actually admitted to the whole thing. "Okay, so I'm posting a proper apology. The recent Warrior Cats dramas cantering on eugenics was my fault. Yesterday, me and a few others in the server I run were joking about how funny it would be to make the list of cursed WC 2021 discourse points real. The first one on the list was the clan differences in designs getting called eugenics. I put it up in the notifications channel and told the server that they had to accomplish it by the end of February. This was all a joke, and if anything came from it, I expected it to just be between the few people in on it. Everything happened overnight as I slept, and I had no hand in its actual execution. The situation is now being managed and controlled, and those who started this are deleting their reblogs and fake accounts and posting their own apologies. Most if not all of the people involved were minors, and a few didn't even understand what eugenics meant or the full weight of it, and they're all very sorry. I'm really sorry for bringing this into existence. I lacked the foresight to understand the consequences that had come from my actions, and it led to a lot of harm and stress, as this is obviously not a topic to be taken lightly or joked about." Obviously, the fandom was pretty pissed that this group of fans thought that the topic of eugenics, an infamously unfunny topic, was hilarious enough to turn into an epic prank. I guess I can kinda see how they thought this would be a good idea or thought it would be like a funny prank to do, but when you look at the list and see that it contains a lot of really loaded topics, yeah, it's probably just time to scrap the whole idea. Cast your mind back to like the middle of this video when we were talking about the Dove course. What do you mean? This video is formatted perfectly. Anyway, as we previously discussed, the Dove course fundamentally changed how the Warriors wiki functioned and turned it from a bunch of lies glued together to appear like a functioning site into the ultimate canon source for all WC content. But where had all that false information come from in the first place? Well, the errands would often answer fan questions on Facebook, and in August of 2016, Victoria Holmes, the main editor of the books, would write a post about someone called Suzanne. She wrote that Sue would be answering fan questions about lore and family trees and plotlines, and that her word was 100% canonical. Victoria even got in contact with the Wikipedia mods to confirm that yes, Suzanne's word was completely canon, and while everyone was pretty skeptical, this was coming from one of the Erins herself, and the Erin's word was gospel. The problem was, Suzanne's word was gospel now too, and oh boy did she start preaching. It began, as most garbage fires do, innocently. She would post about the many unnamed kits from the books, giving them names, personalities, and backstories. In one of these posts, Sue writes that Vicky was quote so happy and looked over every single cat and agreed to see every fact about them as canon. It was unnecessary and kinda weird. God knows there are enough cats to keep track of. I don't have time to think about one that appeared on one page one time. But to be fair, Sue wasn't hurting anyone, and her little revisions weren't exactly getting in the way of the story, so for the most part fans enjoyed these harmless little info dumps. However, as time went on, these unnamed kit posts would become more and more outlandish as she struggled to give every unnamed character a non-contradictory backstory and family tree. She was giving kits parents, which in turn was messing up the already very confusing and contradictory family trees, which apparently even resulted in some implied incest within the clans, though most of Sue's posts are deleted now, so I can't fully fact check that. After this, she started retconning information about already established characters in a pretty horrendous way. She wrote that two characters, Bright Flower and Lily Whisker, actually went to the Dark Forest when they died side, which is basically cat hell. They didn't even do anything bad, their crimes were being angry, which as far as I'm aware isn't violating any rules of the warrior code. Although I don't know, maybe they wrote it like really small at the bottom and they just didn't see it. Then Spotted Leaf's heart comes out and everyone flips their shit. Quick interlude before we continue, let's recap all the information that we have on Sue Suzanne. Sue wrote on the Warrior Cats forum that she had been assisting Victoria as an editor, and on Facebook Victoria confirmed that Sue had helped her write Pine Star's Choice, which is a pretty big deal. However, later Victoria would write on her Facebook that while Sue had been acting as her editor, she wasn't actually an official editor or writer and was just a really knowledgeable superfan. So Sue had helped Victoria write an entire canonical book as an editor but wasn't actually an editor, she was just a fan, but her word was also canon. Confusing, but let's continue. So with fans raging about Spotted Leaf's heart, they completely turned on Sue Suzanne, blaming her for the awful new book, shit-talking her, and sending her waves of hate. After all, she'd helped write Pine Star's Choice, and her story posts had been getting more and more ridiculous, so fans assumed that she was the one who wrote the outlandish and disturbing plotlines found within the book. Sue was getting harassed, accusations were flying, Victoria was kind of trying to do some like PR from the side to quell the outrage, but it wasn't really working. And in an attempt to, I don't know, maybe shift the blame off of Sue Suzanne, Victoria completely threw her under the bus. She suddenly came out with multiple posts about how Sue's ideas were never canon, that she had stated on multiple occasions that they were never meant to be canon, and that she had just wanted to let Sue, quote, share her OCs. So, hold the absolute phone here. Victoria was straight up lying here, and it was pretty ice cold. As far as I can tell from the archived post, Victoria never mentioned once that Sue's writing wasn't canon. In fact, she'd implied the opposite on more than one occasion. The closest post I can find is this one, in which she calls the matter of Sue's missing kits being canon, quote, tricky, and writes that since she is just one member of a larger team, she can't 100% confirm that these characters existed in the original books. That's completely fair, but this statement isn't exactly calling them non-canon, it's just saying that she can't confirm or deny because it'd piss the other errands off. Even the wiki mods who had been in contact with Victoria herself wrote that they had been led to believe that Sue's word was canon. Victoria also said that if she were to rewrite the series or write a new set of books, she'd definitely include Sue's characters, so it's pretty brutal that she then turned around and acted as if she had never even considered making them canon at all. So the harassment ended up getting super bad for Sue, especially because all her writing had been added to the wiki under the assumption that it was canon, and now hundreds of edits would have to be removed. And personally, I do think a lot of the blame falls on Victoria. She entrusted Sue in this role and hyped her up to be this really knowledgeable superfan editor kind of person, but when the heat got too hot, she threw her under the bus and acted like she was some random kid LARPing her OCs on her page. Sue's writing wasn't always perfect, but she had some pretty interesting and cool ideas, and she did the best she could to keep everything canonical. It seemed like she was shouldering all this admin continuity research work as a favor to Victoria just because she enjoyed the series and wanted to help out. Victoria admitted that she misjudged the reception that Sue would get, and I don't think she quite realized how large and intense the fan base was, so I guess I can see both sides. Sue Suzanne eventually deleted her Facebook and most traces of her social media presence, presumably because of the harassment, and Victoria stepped down shortly after Spotted Leaf's heart because she was undergoing some really serious cancer treatment. We're left with one final baffling question. Who the hell was Sue Suzanne? Most people think that her name was a pseudonym, and if not, that's one hell of a name. She appeared out of the blue, virtually no information was known about her, and she vanished soon after all the drama went down. How did Victoria even meet Sue? Was Sue a random kid on the internet that shared her writing with Victoria and ended up getting carried away? Or was she a grown woman who was doing legitimate editing work and got given a little bit too much responsibility? The truth may lie somewhere between the two, but Sue Suzanne has gone down in the annals of Warrior Cats history as one of the most hated figures in the entire community. Fans still complain about her today, and while it was an absolute shit show and I don't think she should have ever been given that much responsibility, I can't help but feel that maybe she was just a passionate fan that got thrown in the deep end. There are lots of dramas I didn't include in this list for time, but honorable mentions go to that time the fandom had discourse over whether fans who were over the age of 18 should be forced to use their own tag as to not make minors, quote, uncomfortable. The Warrior Cats amino, no further context needed. Fans getting cancelled for lusting after the evil murderous cats, likewise fans getting cancelled for drawing the good good cats as evil. Fans coming together to make #RedTailIsOver party trend on Twitter, which was the first Warrior Cats related tag to trend on the website. And lastly, fans competing over the years to find the stupidest canonical name for a warrior. In the books, each cat has a warrior name consisting of a prefix and a suffix. As long as both of these words are something found out in nature, that name is possible in universe. That means that Marshmallow, Smokeweed, Mountain Dew, Death Star, AirPod, Hollywood, and Smashmouth are all possible warrior names. Oh, and of course Garfield, which would obviously be my warrior cat name. So now we've finally reached the end of our tale. You know, like tail, like a cat's tail. It's another pun. Was the Warrior Cat series Shakespeare? No. Does the fandom have some very problematic people and dramas within it? Yes. But is the fandom also filled with creative, funny, talented, and kind people who have turned this tween novel series into something really complex and interesting? No. I mean, yes. I've spent a lot of time ragging on the books because it's fun to criticize old nostalgic media, but in my opinion, a lot of them still hold up as really interesting pieces of fiction with strong world building and some really great writing moments. Do I recommend you read the books? Yes and no. I still think that a lot of the arcs do hold up, especially the first one in my opinion, but they can be really hit or miss. I'd say go for it honestly, they're pretty adding new events and storylines for players to enjoy. Neopets, one of the web's earliest pet sites in the virtual world that launched 1,000 virtual worlds. There's a good chance that any young adult you ask will have many fond memories of Neopets and will be able to talk for hours on end about their beloved Jub Jub or the time they accrued millions of Neopoints through illicit trading and became a tycoon. You know, typical kid stuff. But it wasn't all rainbows and fairies on Neopets, and the site is infamous for the many scandals that it's gotten itself into over the years. Today let me take you on a journey, an exploration of the many strange scandals that our beloved Neopets has gotten itself into over the years. Before we get on with the video, I'd just like to give a massive thank you to today's sponsor, Honey. I'm sure that these days most of the shopping you do is probably online. That's where Honey comes in. Honey will become your dearest, most beloved friend when it comes to online shopping. It's a free online shopping tool that scours the internet for promo codes and coupons and automatically tests them out for you whenever you check out, helping you to save money and score some great deals. So here's how it works. Simply add Honey to your browser for free in 2 easy clicks. Head to one of Honey's over 30,000 supported sites and check out with your goodies. Honey will automatically work its magic, pop up, and all you gotta do is click apply coupons and boom, you've just saved money, baby. It's really that simple. I used it just the other day to buy makeup and I saved 15%. If you have a computer, Honey should be on it. So if you want to join me in saving money, head to joinhoney.com/izzies. That's joinhoney.com/izzies, IZZZYZZZ, to start saving money now. Thank you so much to Honey for sponsoring this video, and now let's get on with the video. To understand all of Neopets' controversies, we first have to start at the beginning. Neopets was created by Adam Powell and Donna Williams, who conceived the idea in 1997 and launched the site in November of 1999. In the beginning, the goal of the site was to, quote, keep university students entertained and possibly make some cash from banner advertising. The site was fairly simple. Users would look after their own virtual pets, play minigames, and chat to others on the forum. The original site was extremely rough around the edges, littered with pop culture references and half-baked creature designs, but the ideas were all there. The creature designs were strange yet lovable, the games were simple yet addictive, and a system where Neopets had to be cared for regularly kept players coming back for more. By Christmas of 1999, the site was logging over 600,000 views daily, and the developers were struggling to keep up with the server costs and surge of popularity. Powell and Williams had no idea that the site would blow up so much in just a little under a month, and so they began looking for investors who could help them manage their newly viral site. And this is where we reach controversy number 1. In late December of 1999, Adam and Donna met Doug During, who agreed to invest in Neopets alongside several other investors. They all brought shares in early January of 2000, presumably waiting until after the turn of the century just in case Y2K wiped out the entire Neopets website. You know, it's always good to be on the safe side. During himself founded Neopets Inc. just a month later, turning the once unknown website into a bona fide brand in just a few months. So Neopets was saved, they were able to upgrade their servers and now work full-time on the bustling website. The artwork was upgraded and the features were piling up. From battling pets to trading items to investing in the in-game stock market, the site became a place for kids to explore and express themselves. Many have even cited the website as a sort of safe haven for kids in the early 2000s during a time where the internet could be openly unfriendly beyond your small web ring of friends. So Neopets was the hottest new trend, and despite its original demographic of college students and young adults, it's a big hit with kids and tweens. It seemed like everything was going great, and at the time it very much was, but it would come out years later that Doug During and his team were Scientologists. Now, for legal reasons, all of this is completely alleged, and this is all in the context of education and entertainment in the form of recounting a series of events that happened according to publicly available sources. Okay, with that out of the way, let's continue. For a period of about 5 years in the early 2000s, Doug During was the CEO and primary investor in Neopets and also happened to be a Scientologist. This has become something of an urban legend in modern times, with rumors of brainwashing and subliminal messages being spread around. Some claim that one of the pets, the Zweetok, was actually named after the Scientologist figure Xenu, and in a now deleted article, Kotaku claimed that employees were pressured into joining Scientology. However, none of this was actually true and would be debunked by the creators themselves. Scientology actually made much less of an impact on the site than many people have claimed. In a Reddit AMA from 2015, Donna Williams wrote about the role of Scientology on Neopets in the early years. Quote, "The company was structured like a Scientology org. It didn't really change anything that I noticed apart from some odd tests that interviewees had to take consisting of questions like which straight lines seem friendlier and stuff like that. We also had a lot of obscure celebrities coming around the office for tours. At one time there was some talk about putting Scientology education on the site, but we killed that idea pretty sharpish. Adam and I made sure that it never made its way onto anything site related. Religion and politics were two big no-nos for us as far as site content went. Can't say the discussions we had to keep it that way were much fun though. Tom Cruise totally came around the office, didn't he?" The reason that the company was, quote, structured like a Scientology org has been attributed to the claim that During was using the org board, a Scientologist business model, to run the company. While Adam and Donna felt that this didn't heavily impact the company, others felt differently about this business model. Patricia